can feel this tide. Choke my neck and I just wonder why. I'm buried in a suit I'd never buy. A suit I'd never buy. Cufflinks on my wrist. I can't act surprised. When the shovels hit dirt in the earth, did they start to cry? Since I'm 17, I've been looking for a place to make me be complete. I've been looking all alone out there for anything to make me feel alive. Bring me back to life. 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 Cufflinks on my wrist. I can't act surprised. When the shovels hit dirt in the earth, did they start to cry?
All right, all right, all right. In the words of McConaughey.
Didn't say it right at all.
Oh, that was a terrible accent.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was
Trav's
like-
way better than me. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. Today is, what is today? It's December.
Yes.
It's the last month of the longest year in the history of our lifetimes.
I saw somebody tweet about it earlier. They were like, don't jinx it, guys. They were like, we're pretty sure this is the last month of 2020, but let's not jinx it.
We're pretty sure.
We wake up tomorrow. It's still December 1st.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man.
How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. If you guys can hear us okay, just type a Y or a yes in the chat. Let us know we're good to go. You should be able to see us, hear us, and feel our energy.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, man. What a wild, wild month for not only Bitcoin, but stonks. For private equity and venture deals doing well. I mean,
Yeah.
man, what a hell of a year this has
Yeah.
been.
I forgot to wear my Stonks shirt today.
Oh,
I had a
boo.
special shirt
Come
made,
on.
and it says Stonks.
You've got a whole store, don't you, with all those...
I do. Any ladies,
investors.
check out shetalksfinance.com/shop.
Hey.
Yeah, you got some sick swag. I'm just waiting for your men's line to come out.
I may have to make one.
I mean, your sayings are applicable for
We'll
both.
see.
So.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
All right, man. Well, welcome everybody. You know, the past few We Talk Money shows we've done live like this, and today I know there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh my God, what the hell's Bitcoin going to do?" So, of course, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about altcoins. We're going to talk about some massive stock trades you guys have had. I say we because I like to piggyback and take some credit. And yeah, we'll talk about some news. We'll take some Q&A from you guys and just have a good time today. So thanks for being with us. Go ahead and smash that like button. Let's
Smash it.
Let the YouTube algorithms know we're here, which for some reason we've been shadow banned halfway for like a year now, ever since, I guess it was last December that they tried to take our channel down, and they just, you know, I guess there's so many crypto scams on YouTube now and so many like get rich quick people that have like come into the space that they just don't like the Bitcoin keywords anymore. So whatever. You guys are here. That's all that matters.
How about YOLO Tesla? Come on, YouTube. You seem to love that crap.
Yeah. Oh my God, let's buy the most expensive stonks and drive them even higher.
Yes.
All right.
Neo.
Well, let's do this, guys. We'll start by talking about what everybody wants to hear about, which is Bitcoin. Yeah.
It's so funny because on Twitter, it's so polarizing right now. Like in the FinTwit community, it's like half of people are just shitting on it and hate it.
Yeah.
And the other half are like, everybody should have an allocation in Bitcoin. It's just so split.
There's still a lot of non-believers.
There really are, and especially in the professional world.
Yes.
You know, a lot of CPAs, a lot of financial advisors. It's just it's funny to watch.
Yeah.
We are still early. We're still early.
Yeah.
We're super early. I mean,
it's like the second or third inning.
yeah,
It's crazy.
This is actually to where we are right now with like institutional players coming in. It actually took longer than I thought, because back in like 2013 and 14 and even 15, when we were doing, you know, all these talks and webinars trying to convince traders and investors that Bitcoin was the way to go, it was like, I'm like, yeah, within 2 or 3 years, the institutions are going to catch on and it's going to be flooded. But just only now is that momentum really starting to rock and roll. So, yeah. All right. Well, you guys want to look at some charts and some TA and some FA and some, I don't know, really fun stuff. Let's just kind of set, I guess, kind of the 30,000 foot overview of where everything is at right now. You know, it's been such a wild year, and I know some people are like super engaged with the markets on a day-to-day basis. Some people are like, yo, I haven't checked prices in months because I'm a psychopath. No. But if we take a look at, you know, crypto, just kind of like the leaderboard as far as like market cap goes, you can see that over the past year, Bitcoin's up about 160%, 30 days about 38%, flat-ish on the week. And you can see in aggregate, you know, most altcoins are up as well. It's just been a really, really phenomenal year for crypto. And then if we take a look at some of the traditional markets, if we just hover over indices here, you can see the NASDAQ is up a whopping 42%, brought to you by the Fed. We'll talk about that, but there have been some incredible stock trades this year.
Fed truther.
Thank you, Fed. We love you, pumping artificial fiat crap into our stonks. But anyway, yeah, we've got the S&P up about 14%. Even the Nikkei's up and looking bullish ever since the 80s. Even small cap, Russell's up. You got metals that are still up. Gold's actually been selling off pretty recently, but it's still up about 19 or 20%. Copper, palladium, silver are up. So a lot of stuff has been doing really well. I sent this survey out. Well, I think this was yesterday. I asked everybody, I said, what asset class is currently your biggest percentage of your portfolio? And I guess for my followers, it's kind of selection bias because 70% of people said crypto.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah. But I was curious because you don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people that have retirement accounts, or I know in our community, we have a lot of guys and ladies that are active in the stock market, and some of their positions have grown really well this year. So I really didn't know. But you can see here, you know, about 13% said stocks, 10% said real estate. So, you know, it is still pretty diversified. What?
Oh, I was just gonna say that.
Not that diversified.
Yeah, it's well.
It's a lot of people saying crypto.
Yeah, this is, like you said, kind of has a bias, obviously, based on who follows you, because of your focus on crypto the last few years. But it's been really interesting in our community. Basically having both asset classes. I think that's kind of what makes, I mean, this is a shameless plug here, but that's kind of what makes our community so unique, beyond just like you and Rocky being very, very good at what you do on the crypto side, and Nikki and I, you know, at least so far being good at what we do on the stock side.
Bro, you grew a hedge fund from 100 million to $1 billion.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. But you know, this idea that you could have like both of those very different asset classes together in one place and have people that are very good at what they do in both asset classes available to you is pretty cool. Like, we've had a number of people come over and dip their toe in from the crypto side into stocks. Some did it actually during the crisis in March, and like I've been getting some private messages in the last couple of weeks, like, I've, you know, doubled my retirement portfolio.
Hell yeah.
You know, or
Yep.
I'm You know, I've never had gains like this in stocks before. Some of that, of course, probably just due to like kind of the hot market we're in. A lot of that, I think, due to some of the picks that we have that we help people with. So,
well, you guys were contrarians in March, you know, and we talked about this on the We Talk Money shows back then.
Yeah.
You guys were some of the only people that were actually aggressively buying the panics in March.
Right.
Everybody was calling for a depression and the end of the world, and all political and philosophical arguments aside, you know, you guys made a shit ton of money. So it's hard to argue with that.
I was also talking about this with the crew in the mindset chat in our community. Obviously, I like hanging out in there and seeing what people are saying in regards to where their heads at.
Yeah.
You know, dealing with the gains and dealing with what they're seeing, because obviously this is an outlier year. Whenever, like in '08, when you had the huge panic, you know, you were picking up big opportunities. If you were picking up real estate in '08, you're doing pretty damn well right now, right? Like, those are those outlier years that you have to know when to press the gas pedal.
Absolutely.
And part of why we've found success this year in our investing is because we knew the market environment we were in, we were paying attention, we knew when to press the gas pedal. And you know, you have to prepare yourself, though. You have to build those skills beforehand, so you know how to recognize that.
Yeah.
And it transfers over into crypto too. It's the same exact thing.
100%.
You were, you know, picking up Bitcoin and other coins when the time was right.
Yeah,
and you
4K,
knew.
6K.
Yeah.
Those really big.
It's the work we do in the bear markets that make the bull markets worth celebrating.
So true.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what I think gets lost.
Yeah.
And everyone, you know, wants to make the big money. They're coming into the market now when it's at all-time highs, or when, you know, Bitcoin's about to break an all-time high. And, you know, really that's good that they're here and they're paying attention. But the real time to be doing the work is when it looks ugly.
Yeah. When everybody's forgotten about it or rage quit or whatever, that's the time you want to be the most focused and the most patient. And then when the masses come in and they drive things higher, that's when you can kind of sit back and say, "Ooh, I'm positioned well. I don't have to rush into FOMO and all that stuff."
Absolutely.
And, you know, people that are very heavily in crypto, I know that, like, Raul says he's irresponsibly long Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Crazy
and
long.
98%.
He is irresponsibly long. And I don't know if the 70% of these people are irresponsibly long crypto. As long as you understand the risks with that and the risks of not diversifying enough, guess what? Crypto could make you a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you know, if you aren't careful, you're going to have to deal with some really big swings in your portfolio.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people can't stomach. And then that's what gets them into trouble, when they can't handle the volatility and then they're puking at the lows.
Yep.
And then they just watch it go all the way back. You know, you have to know what you're into.
100%, man.
I love the combination of stocks and crypto. So this kind of goes back to the original question and what I was talking about originally. But I love the combo because crypto and stocks both they've, you know, over the last decade have both been great asset classes in general to be involved in. Stocks over the last 100 years have proven they've been a great asset class to be involved in, but there's some uniqueness to each one. Like, they're not 100% correlated. At times we've seen crypto actually be either not correlated at all or even negatively correlated to stocks, which we've talked about in the past. Super interesting property. But also stocks are interesting because you just have a lot more choices.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's 40,000 stocks worldwide. Crypto, I mean, yeah, there's hundreds of altcoin projects, but most of the market cap is in probably the top 10.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit more concentration of market cap in crypto than there is in stocks, I think. And so stocks, you just have a lot more like choices, but you also have a lot more challenges around like, where do I even start to analyze? What corner of the market do I go for?
It's like going to the wine section. You know, you're like, God, there's so much wine to choose from. I don't know. All these winemakers, that's kind of what it's like.
That's a really great analogy.
You have to drill down to, okay, I know I like California wines. Okay, what variety of grape do I like from California? You know, it's kind of similar to that.
And then I'm over here, no, I just want my crypto juice.
Yeah, you're like the spirit side, you know? You got your whiskey, your vodka, your
that's it.
You know,
there's just
tequila.
the top 10 liquors, you know.
No, that's a great point, man. And I'm just really excited because because even though Bitcoin is at all-time highs right now, like we said when we first got started, like it feels like things are really just getting started. Like we're in the full market cycle phase that I've been talking about for 8 years now. It feels like we're in phase 2, which is kind of the early healthy trend. And again, nobody knows where the top is, but there's a lot of data, a lot of tools that we have today that we didn't have in the early days of crypto. And so I just want to kind of run through that for everybody. We can jump into the charts. We can jump in, look at different on-chain fundamental factors, which I just did a full video series and playlist on YouTube talking about how to look at fundamental analysis with Bitcoin, because it is so different.
Fundamental analysis. A lot of people will tell you there's not any fundamental analysis with Bitcoin.
It's completely different than stocks, right?
Yeah.
Stocks, you got earnings, you got P ratio, stuff like that. In crypto, you've got on-chain data, and you've got growth metrics, and you've got off-chain data, and you can even look at, global macro stuff and how that influences Bitcoin, which is actually a massive driver right now, with pretty much every central bank around the world going, holy shit, we have to try to create our own central bank digital currency to compete. And so now it's an arms race. It's a gold rush. It's a whatever analogy we want to use. But capital is starting to flow like a massive waterfall into the space.
Technology is here.
Yep.
I think, first of all, your video series on the fundamentals and analyzing Bitcoin, what was it, 4 series, or I think it was five videos.
Yeah,
5 videos. I was blown away because there were a lot of things like I had never, and I don't focus on crypto 100% of the time, but there were a lot of things I didn't know that you had uncovered for me that I thought were really interesting. And I was like, in a lot of ways, actually, crypto offers almost an unprecedented level of, because of the blockchain, an unprecedented level of transparency.
Yeah.
And so what's going to be really interesting too is that if STOs take off, that will bring a whole new level of fundamental analysis to crypto as well. But not only that, not only will you be able to kind of analyze specific assets or specific companies or specific projects that are tied to security tokens, but then you'll also have this transparency of the blockchain. It's almost like seeing every trade that's made is visible to everyone.
Yeah.
It's like what?
Is it kind of like the time and sales?
Yeah,
in a way?
But like even more transparent.
Steroids.
Yeah.
So it could get really, it could be a really rich, fertile ground for fundamental analysis. If STOs take off too.
100%, man. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the next probably 3 to 5 years is going to be one of the biggest, outside of Bitcoin and all the stuff we talk about on a day-to-day basis, like with security tokens and just new asset classes. Carter Thomas and I talked about this a few weeks ago about just all the new opportunities that are coming that we can't quite quantify yet. This is the most excited I've been about the crypto space since 2013.
Yeah.
What I notice is that a lot of people are arguing against that there's anything sustaining Bitcoin. There's no fundamental reason to own it. It's speculation 1,000%. And those people are obviously missing something here, because Bitcoin seems to continue to keep traction and be super resilient against all odds. So it's obviously not nothing.
Yeah, it's anti-fragile against the Peter Schiffs of the world, right? Like these guys that keep hammering the same narrative. Oh, no intrinsic value. They're just completely missing the boat, and they're going to be the ones to buy our bags another 1,000% from here, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
and even on the finance side with females, I noticed that the narrative, it's like they will outright say, I don't talk about crypto. I don't buy Bitcoin. I don't do any of this. So I actually think there's a huge hole for females to learn about crypto and to be able to build wealth with crypto too. I think that's actually
we need more ladies in the space.
A huge problem.
Yeah.
Because when Bitcoin goes crazy, everyone starts talking. Everyone starts saying their opinions. Everyone starts saying things that you can kind of get a feel for sentiment. And that's like what I'm gathering on that side. Is that a lot of people are like, nope, not touching it, but on the female influencer
do you
side.
see any movement there yet, as far as like the sentiment starting to shift among females?
I see some females in crypto Twitter actually that are pretty prominent.
Like Meltem and
I've seen like crypto girl gone what?
There are a few female YouTubers now.
I don't really know them. I just see them on Twitter.
Yeah.
But they're in that space. A few of them. So I have seen that.
What about the females that you talk to for financial planning?
Any CFPs jumping in yet?
It's so new to them, and a lot of them don't know how to handle it or what to do with it or what they don't even know. It's really new in the financial planning space.
So before we dive into charts and stuff, let's just talk about what's happening and where the capital is coming from, because here's the difference. So in 2013, the bubble that we had, whenever I went all in, it was basically nerds and cypherpunks and then China that was driving the 2013 boom and bust. 2017, it became more mainstream, right? Like CNBC was pumping it and whatever. And it was mom and pop investors that were chasing, but there were still no institutions in. It wasn't until early 2019 that institutions in a meaningful way started to come in. And so right now, obviously, with MicroStrategy, with Paul Tudor Jones, like the dominoes are falling, right? And I think one of kind of the next major waves is in your space, Nikki, with all the financial planners. When you have average mom and pops that can get access to this, the amount of liquidity that brings in dwarfs the current market cap, right? 350 billion or whatever that we're at right now.
That's a drop.
That is a drop in the hat of the capital that's coming into the space. And the true scarcity nature of Bitcoin is unlike anything the world's ever seen, right? Like it's truly the first completely scarce,
way more than gold in terms of knowing. We know.
Because gold, the higher the price of gold goes, the more gold comes out of the earth, right? So it's kind of.
But we don't truly know how much gold there really is, right?
Yeah. So with that said, let's jump into some charts. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Sorry, we went off on a tangent.
I think it's good to do these tangents though, because it's good to give context as to what's happening and why. And then when we look at the charts, it just makes more sense. Right. So, all right, let's take a look. This was another survey that I sent out. I said, all eyes on 20K. This was a few days ago. Said, how do you guys think this is going to play out? 30% of people said a parabolic run through 20K. 55% of people said a pullback and then a breakout. And for some reason, 10% of people actually believe that we're not going to get a new all-time high. Which is kind of interesting, because to me, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And yesterday we technically did kind of high tick the all-time highs, but we still haven't broken out, right? We still don't have a strong breakout. Let's take a look at some basic like on-chain and off-chain fundamental factors. So this is something that's been making the rounds over the past year, is basically the balance of Bitcoin on exchanges. So, we're looking at, all the major exchanges, the amount of coins that are sitting on exchange. And typically what happens is when that number starts to come down, that means that people are pulling their Bitcoin off of the exchanges onto cold storage, basically hardware wallets, right? So you can see the peak was actually here last year. Wait, was this last year? When was this? This was January. Okay, so January this year, it peaked out, and it's been falling consistently over the entire year, right? So that means people are, even though the price is going up, people are buying and then pulling their coins off, which is a very bullish sign. Another thing we can look at are market timing tools, things like the market cap to thermocap ratio. So this is actually a really accurate way of kind of correlating tops with parabolic price action. So you can see back here in 2011, there was a big parabolic run. We had the spring bubble of 2013. There was a parabolic run. We had a fall or winter bubble of 2013. When we went from 100 to 1,000, that was also in the red territory up here. And then in 2017, you can see we got up in the red territory. And we are just now starting to come off of the green zone. So we're still very early in this cycle. All right, like things are really just starting to get heated. There's also a bunch of other things we can look at, like Puel multiple, where you can see, again, we're kind of mid-range here, but even when this thing spikes, it can still run several months into the future, making new highs. And then one thing that's interesting, though, that we don't want to disregard is the fact that everybody right now, almost everybody, is in the money. So meaning for most people that bought Bitcoin, they are in profit or close to break even. Even the people that bought at the absolute worst time in 2017 are back to break even or slightly in profit. So that can be a bearish sign in the short term, because when, think about the mentality that some people have. They're like, oh my God, I bought Bitcoin in 2017. I was down 80, 90%, and I'm back to break even. Thank you, God. Let me just get out with my money. Some people do that, right? A lot of people actually panic at the lows, but some people do when they get back to break even, they just take profit. So that is something to think about. And that's why when we hit all-time highs, most of the time, and we'll look at the chart and look at the data here, most of the time it doesn't just go parabolic right through it. It chops around and it actually gets really, really volatile. So that's something I think we're going to see.
Looks like we're already seeing it in the last couple of days, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's just starting.
Yeah, I mean, we did see that pullback then, and now we're retesting.
Thanksgiving Day or day before? I can't remember now.
Yep,
yeah.
It pulled back to like the 17,000 area, and it very quickly got bought back up. And the price action to me looks as strong as it could look going into this level.
Yeah. Let's take a look at, so this was the breakout in late 2016 or January 2017. I actually did this video. Oh my God, who is this guy?
Look at that mohawk.
Oh God. This was our old studio up north. Yeah. So this was January 2017. And basically, I was getting a ton of messages. People like, oh my God, I can't believe we're back at $1,000. Is it actually going to break out? And I did a video basically explaining how the market cycles work and why I thought, basically the bull trend was just getting started. But here's what happened. So when we started to get up and we tested $1,000, we basically had a China scare, quote unquote China scare, where China came out and, they're banning Bitcoin for the 15th time. And then we had an ETF rejection where, the SEC was like, no, we're not approving ETFs. And there was so much fear and so many opinions getting thrown around. And you can see we actually had 2 dips of over 30% within that first quarter. So that's important to look at. And it wasn't really, so from the time that we tested the high, which was here in, basically the 1st of January, 2017, it wasn't until the end of April or early May that the bull trend actually took off. It was over 100 days of choppy sideways action. So I think that's important just to look at, not that this time has to follow that exactly, because the present and the future never perfectly mirrors the past. But we can't extrapolate that and say, well, what happens generally when Bitcoin challenges a new all-time high? Well, you get a lot of volatility. You get people that are, oh my God, thank you, I can sell for break even. You get breakout buyers that are trying to buy the breakout. You get dip buyers. You get shorts that pile in. It just creates a ton of volume and a ton of trading range and a lot of risk. Like if you're coming in here trying to like day trade this, you got to be really careful because the odds of you getting chopped to pieces are very high right now.
I feel like people that day trade Bitcoin or crypto in general are like, they have the strongest stomachs ever.
Well, most of them blow up. Like
never. No.
Yeah. I mean, most people that get into crypto, hopefully it's not like this anymore, but it used to be, all right, go to BitMEX, go to one of these like high leverage, crappy, unregulated exchanges, leverage up, take out credit card debt, buy Bitcoin, panic at the lows, sell, right? Like a lot of people come into crypto that way, being like an active day trader, which is why our message is trade less, profit more. Like our main capital buckets are A, cold storage. You accumulate when all the data says we are severely undervalued. And then you can also do cycle trades where you buy and you build into a position where you trade the multi-year cycles. And the reason why somebody would want to do that is to increase their fiat cash position so they can buy more Bitcoin when price goes down, right? And like there's this narrative floating around in the crypto space right now that trading is bad. Well, I think we talked about this last week. Trading is not bad. It's just people do it the wrong way. And even if you're a quote unquote hodler, you are still trading. It's the same skill stack, right? And the only question is, what time frame are you holding? You could say, I'm a hodler, I'm holding forever. Okay, cool. But your entry prices still matter. Yeah. Right?
I think that this is a really good point looking back at how price action has reacted at prior big breakout levels, and just getting a feel for, obviously, like, we don't know if the past is going to duplicate itself now.
Yeah.
Anything can happen now. But I do think that that's a really good exercise for people to practice, to kind of keep their mind right through the game, right? Because everyone is thinking, oh, we're going to get a breakout through 20,000, no issues. Like, this is definitely going to happen in the next, X amount, whatever time frame you put on it. But the fact of the matter is, the market has a mind of its own. And like you brought up here, this is really important.
Yeah.
It's funny because what you're saying, I think, also holds true across many different asset classes. If you go back and you study some of the greatest hedge fund investors, some of the greatest trades of all time,
like Travis DeWitt, the stock
certainly some of my own trades as well. What you'll find, a perfect example, just go read some of the old Jack Schwager Market Wizards books, and what you'll find is a lot of the great fund managers, the great macro managers, the great stock managers, what they'll often tell you is that their biggest paydays came after just a ton of patience and a ton of just like twiddling their thumbs, waiting for their trade to play out or their thesis to play out, or waiting for that moment when the risk reward aligned perfectly.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, even some of the greatest trades of the last decade or two, like the great subprime housing bet that, Paul said, The Big Short, the movie The Big Short.
Yeah.
All those guys that did that, it was going against them for a year and a half until it finally broke within a matter of a month or two. And they were all up, 100x.
Yeah.
And it was like, you wait for the fat pitch, as Buffett often says, and then when it comes, you gotta,
take it.
Know when to take it.
I mean, that's kind of how I felt last year before all of this. I had some positions that I was wondering if they would ever come to fruition, like Upwork, or I had, bought things like Pinterest before the panic of March. And I, was sitting there. You have to go through the process and remember, okay, patience.
Remind yourself why you're in the position.
And if you, if we would have basically given up on the positions and just gotten impatient and angry at them, we wouldn't have been able to have multi-baggers like we're seeing now with some of these names.
Yeah.
So that's a really great point.
Yeah.
You take the fat pitch, you stay patient, and just keep up with like what's going on. Make sure your thesis is still intact, right?
Yeah.
Like if tomorrow the U.S. came out and banned Bitcoin, I don't know, could that change the fundamental thesis here? Probably. Right?
I'd go even heavier.
It would change, whatever.
I don't know if I can get much heavier.
Point,
but
though. Such a great point. You
direction.
still have to incorporate new information and constantly update your priors. But, but assuming it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great points.
All right, so let's get to what everybody wants to see, which is the live Bitcoin price. All right, so we've given context to where Bitcoin's been, the 2017 breakout. Now let's talk about what the heck is going on right now. So here we are sitting, as of right now, the live price is 18,842, and we are hovering right around the all-time high from 2017. Now, to give a little context for people that are not in the community with us and don't get our trade alerts and all that stuff, here's basically what's happened so far this year. So in March, all the markets panicked together. So stocks, crypto, even gold, basically everything in March had that kind of correlated panic, which gave us the best buying opportunity that I've seen in Bitcoin in many, many years. And the reason why is because Bitcoin fell by about 50% in about 48 hours. So anytime it does that, I am a blind buyer. And this has only happened a handful of times. There's really two major times that I like to buy Bitcoin as far as an accumulation play, meaning like whenever I buy it and stuff it in cold storage, or whenever I start to build in positions for cycle trades. It's when Bitcoin's over 80% off of its highs, all-time highs, and when there's a panic of over 50% in less than 3 days. Those are historically the best times to buy Bitcoin. Now, that's not the only time to buy Bitcoin. You can buy breakouts, you can buy dips, you can buy breakouts of all-time highs, but from a risk-reward standpoint, those are the best times to buy, period. So what do? We started to build into a position. Rocky, aka Crypto Hustle, got a much better fill than me, which I'm still salty about. He was getting fills down here in the low 4K range, almost low ticked that sucker. And then I was basically building into this position throughout the spring and then summer, buying dips, buying breakouts, scaled out a little around 10K. And basically this is the heaviest I've been in Bitcoin since I got in 2013. And then you can see what happened here is once we let go, once that 12K let go, this is where things really started to pick up speed. And I was tweeting like crazy back here, given the analogy of like the slingshot, why I thought we were about to go nuts again. And if we look at kind of the multi-time frame chart here, you can see really what happened and why price broke out so strong the way that it did is because it was resistance on both the yearly, the monthly, the weekly, the daily, and the intraday chart. So the major confluence, hell yeah. So 14K was basically the close of 17 and the open of 18 on the yearly chart. And then if we go to a monthly chart, you can drill down and you can see we had also pivot high here from the summer of 2019. So that was correlating on the monthly chart. And then on the daily chart, we also had what I call a 1, 2, 3, 4 breakout pattern right here through 14K. And then we got an entry. So that was actually my last buy was through the 12 and 14K zone. And where we are right now is you can see we're starting to get those washouts and the bounce plays where we're starting to get that volatility in between 16 and 20K. So what is that on a percentage? Let me see. So from this pivot high, we had a pullback. So it was only, quote unquote, only about a 15% dip from this high. And you can see as of yesterday, we basically V-bottomed and ripped to a high. And then right now, as of today, we're kind of consolidating.
You know, a garden variety 15% dip. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
no
it.
big deal.
That's an average Wednesday in Bitcoin.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so that's really where we are. Now, I know the next question that everybody's going to have is, targets,
Where's it
where the
going,
hell's
Chris
this thing
Dunn?
going? Yeah, what's the high? Okay, so let me preface this by saying, A, we are not financial advisors. Don't buy or sell based on anything we say in this show. B, timing matters, meaning your hold time and your strategy matters, right? So I have targets for 5, 10 years out or longer, which again are basically guesses because there are so many variables, so many factors, so many things that have to go right that at the end of the day, I just go, man, I don't know if this is going to work or not as far as like the stock to flow ratio and different mental models that we can use to find 6 or 7 figure prices of Bitcoin. I just don't know. I'm not willing to bet my entire life on anything like that, but we can use those as a guide, right? And then I have kind of my medium-term capital bucket, which is the cycle trades, right? Which is where are we going before the next halving? What does that look like? What are the measured moves and what are the fib extensions and the different tools we can use to come up with a 1 to 3 year time horizon profit target, right? And then I have my short-term capital bucket, my swing trades and dip buys and stuff that I'm more tactical with to try to trade to profit to accumulate more fiat that I can therefore build more Bitcoin positions when there are panics, right? It's the same thing I've been doing since 2013. Nothing has changed with my strategies to today. It's the same shit I've been doing for 8 years. So with that said, what are my profit targets? And that's the end of the show. No, so there's a few things we can do. We can look at, obviously, stock to flow ratio. So for you guys that are on Glassnode, you just type in stock to flow ratio. You can see that this is a mental model that was proposed by an anonymous dude on Twitter called Plan B. And basically what this looks at is it looks at growth waves. And the one caveat here, and we've talked about this, and the one, if there is a criticism about this, it's the demand side, right? We know what the supply of Bitcoin is going to be, but demand still has to be there, right? That's the one caveat that in the future, we just don't know, but the writing is on the wall. And with the amount of capital that's coming in, I can't make a strong bear case for why this won't work.
Yeah.
Right? I can't guarantee it's going to work. I just don't have enough data to go, yeah, I don't believe in this. It's worked so far. And as long as it continues to work, I'm going to stick with it. Right? So there's extensions to the upside that we can use And there's different ways to basically quantify this. And if you look out into the future before the next halving, you know, you can make an argument somewhere around 100 to 150K.
I think 100K is very possible.
Yeah.
This is not financial advice.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's not driven by pure speculation of retail investors anymore. You've got companies that are putting in hundreds of millions of dollars of publicly traded company cash. Then you've got sovereigns, you've got governments that are now piling in. And I think more that are being public about it, right? Because the minute a major country comes out and says, we are buying Bitcoin, every one of their citizens is going to be like, all right, I guess this is where money's headed. All right. Yeah. So I think this is a relatively conservative and realistic estimate, around 100K. Now, in the shorter term, there's a few tools that we can use to run measured moves and things like that. Let me use this chart. So basically, if we zoom out, let's just use a weekly chart. And one thing that I like to do is run measured moves of prior trends. So before I do that on Bitcoin, let me just show you on like Chainlink. This is a big trade I had this year. So here we go. So Chainlink, there's actually a lot of you guys actually probably made more money than me on this because I was kind of quote unquote late to the party. Like I didn't buy Link anywhere back here through 2018 or 19. I waited for the $5 breakout. I actually caught the breakout within, I think, like 2 hours of the breakout.
Yep. Great trade this year. You alerted it in the community. That was a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. This was really massive. Well. Thanks, man. Yeah. So basically what happened though is if we look at this measured move, so when you have a range like this that is so established for so long, and then you basically measure that and stack it on top of the range, this is where you can come up with some targets. So this first box is a 1x of that range. Second box is a 2x. And then the third box, what I do is I take a 2x of that range and stack it. So it's really a 4x of that prior range. And then what I do is my risk management is very simple. I scale out at each one of those predefined targets, right? So here I took a quarter off around 8, took another quarter off in the low teens, took a quarter off at around 17 or 18, and then I'm still holding a quarter. This is like my moonshot. Like if this thing breaks out to a new all-time high, I still have a quarter on. If it dies and goes to 0, I lose a quarter and I don't give a damn. You know, that's my no regrets trading strategy. Now, if we use that thought process with Bitcoin and we go back and we look at this prior range, because one thing that's interesting is, yeah, one thing that's interesting is this looks like a massive run, right? This 2017 range looks massive, which it was. But if we go back and look at, let's use Bitstamp. If you go back and look at 2013, this also looked like a major run at the time. But by the time 2017 rolled around, you can see how this trend dwarfed, and you can barely even see this here. Right. This is why scaling is so deceptive. And this is where I think log charts actually make sense, right? I don't use log charts to really like time entries and exits, but it is good for looking at exponential growth over time. Right. And you can see, I mean, dude, if we just use
that's cray.
The prior breakout like this right here, and then you run measured moves on what these gains were, I actually have a kind of a medium term target of around 150K. Just based off of the log chart, right? Now, that's going to be a lot of capital that has to flow in, and I don't really have a time horizon for that, but that's my next major pivot point that I'm looking for.
Can you imagine the shitstorm on Twitter with Bitcoin at 150K?
Yeah, people are going to lose their minds.
God, it's going to be crazy on both sides.
It's always you know, about time frame though too.
Yeah.
If Bitcoin hits 100K by the next halving, which I believe is 2024-ish estimated time, then that would be about a 60% annualized rate of return from today. So 60% annualized for the next 4 years.
Which is fantastic.
Which is phenomenal and will beat almost any asset class assuredly.
Yeah.
But it's not bananas insane. We've seen other assets do that. So I know that 100K sounds ridiculous to some people.
When you think about like 1 Bitcoin equals 100K, but like what is a Bitcoin?
Right.
Like it's not like an ounce of gold. An ounce of gold you can really quantify. A Bitcoin is kind of like a made up number in a way. Yeah. Really what you got to look at is the market cap.
Yeah.
Right. That thermocap to market cap, all those like cap fundamental on-chain analysis tools are much better than thinking 100K Bitcoin.
Yeah. But again, I think the time frame matters a lot, because if Bitcoin were to go from 19 or 20K today to 100K tomorrow, people would lose their minds.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was thinking is if you look at how long it took some of these trends in Bitcoin, the other runs that it's had, it happens fast.
It can.
Yeah.
And I almost hope, like, this is kind of funny to say, like, I hope it doesn't happen too fast.
I do too.
I don't want it to get ahead of itself. And to get.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, and if the crypto community wants Bitcoin to, sustain itself, then I think always in any asset class, healthy price movement is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 2018 was a bit damaging to the space as a whole.
Yeah.
Morale, the projects, the funding, everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people lost their shirts buying at 20K, because of the volatility, because of the risk.
Yeah.
So
here's where I think, so this is like the extreme bull case that I've been thinking about, where what if, because those lessons are fresh in everybody's minds, right? Like the 80 to 90% pullbacks, people are starting to catch on to how this works, right? Like in the early days, nobody wanted to believe us. A couple years ago, some people were like, I see the vision, and they made a lot of money. Now it's kind of like the mass majority of people that are in Bitcoin, there's so much information out there now that I would not be surprised if the extreme bull case played out, which is this. This is my extreme bull case. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I don't even hope that this happens. This is just a possibility that I see. You got the Winklevoss twins that are, they've done some work showing how if Bitcoin equals gold's cap, we're going to 500K, right? You can make arguments for that. I think that's reasonable. I don't know time frame. But let's say everybody catches on to that and everybody goes, okay, 500K is the target. And then you get sovereigns that come out and governments that are like, we're getting off the gold standard, Bretton Woods thing, all the reset narrative that's going around right now, that could accelerate this trend. Right. That's kind of the fundamental thought that I have that could make that go crazy. And then you have people that are pulling in record numbers, like we just looked at, pulling Bitcoin off of exchanges. I think a lot of early Bitcoiners and even, people that got in after 2016 are going, I'm not giving away my Bitcoin. So the supply is drying up and the demand is going up. That could make things crazier than even kind of the realistic expectation. Is it going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, kind of be like almost like a short squeeze, like we see in certain stocks where the low float and there's just the demand outstrips supply, and so the marginal buyer, if they really, really want to get their hands on it, is willing to pay absurd prices.
Like we saw that with SBE, which is something you guys got in. Was that a highly shorted one, or was that just low float?
No.
Low float though, for sure. Low float.
Yeah, not highly
it's a SPAC,
shorted.
so.
It probably will be soon.
I
wouldn't be surprised.
So for anybody that doesn't know, this was actually a stock that Trav and Nikki got in, Switchback Energy. This was kind of a sympathy play. Well, not a sympathy play. It's a legit play on the EV space, the electronic vehicle space. But it kind of got overextended here last week.
Yeah, but we were talking about this in October and early November on this show, several episodes.
Yeah, we actually had people reach out to us that were like, hey, we watched the show and bought SPE and made 170% or whatever. Like, good for you.
And you guys did the work on it.
Yeah. And we alerted in our community, I think as early as like the first week of October that we were buying it. So, we were buying $13 and
hell yeah,
the thing essentially tripled in a matter of like 2 weeks here over the last couple of weeks. It's having a pullback in the last couple of days. Probably,
but this is a good example of like a low float like scenario, right? Where when the minute the demand increases, it just goes nuts, and that's why.
Yep, GameStop was another one this year that we had talked about at length, that we had identified at $4 a share that could be a candidate for a massive short squeeze with low float, highly shorted. And it's funny because actually Wall Street Bets has now gotten really excited about this now in the last couple of weeks as it's been in the like mid-teens.
Wait, I thought you guys got this idea from Wall Street Bets.
Pump my bags, Wall Street Bets.
Yes.
I still have a runner on this thing.
Hell yeah.
So funny.
No,
to
you guys
see.
caught it before the hype kicked in, which is when you want to
I
accumulate
bought it.
something like this,
just
right?
like SPE, just like some other plays we've had. Look, that's our goal. We're trying to find stuff before the herd finds it. We're trying to find stuff with interesting risk reward. I know that plenty of people can make money buying stuff that's already kind of spiking that other people are alerting them to, but you know, our whole thing is trying to find stuff that is under the radar that's going to be a multi-bagger that people are not looking at today.
And that's where the work comes in, right? Like you guys, when we're off the show, like what are you doing? You're digging through, you're hunting, you're looking for those multi-bag opportunities.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, and it's been a really good year for us on that front. I had quite a few multi-bagger winners that have, you know, again, I think I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much. We have a very strong market tailwind at our back this year, or at least we have since like, you know, April when the market started to recover. A lot of people look really smart this year.
Yeah.
A lot of like even Wall Street Bets traders and things like that have made a lot of money. Now, a lot of people have also lost money doing stupid things, of course, but there are a lot of people who now think they're geniuses because they're, you know, their retirement counts, you know, they bought Tesla shares and they're up 500%, right? It doesn't take a whole lot of genius to do something like that in a year like this. So I just want to put that out there. You know, I also think it's worth being careful about who you listen to in a really hot market environment because there are a lot of people claiming to be geniuses that aren't.
Yep.
Look at the longer term track records. I will tell anybody who joins our community, not every stock we have is going to be a winner. Not every year we have is going to be a 50 plus or 100% plus type of return year. But if you look over like a 5-10 year track record or time frame, that's where I believe we outshine almost everybody else.
Yeah.
And the like we touched on earlier, you know, like you said, not every year is going to be a year like what we're seeing right now, but the reason we're seeing a year like right now is because we were putting in the work during those years where things maybe weren't as active as they are.
You still have to put in the work, you still have to make good decisions, and you have to have your mental game right, you have to have your capital allocated in the right places and ready to pull the trigger on those high probability plays.
And I like last week, for example, I mean the P&L was going crazy every day. You know, we had stocks like SPE moving nuts. And, you know, I think a lot of people were getting overwhelmed with seeing the green, even with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was going crazy. And I think last week, you know, I definitely was able to take some time and just reconnect with myself and humble myself down, because I think that as investors or traders or whatever, when you are seeing that type of success, if you let the ego jump in and get the best of you and feel like you're on top of the world and you can't lose, that's when the rug gets pulled. And if you're not, you know, you have to stay mentally prepared for that. And
it's like walking a tightrope between, like, on one side you've got fear and hesitation and the lack of ability to pull the trigger. On the other hand, or on the other side, you've got over aggression and ego and just overconfidence and cockiness. And I think that's why, like, on Wall Street Bets, for anybody that doesn't know, Wall Street Bets is a subreddit where it's a bunch of people basically gambling in the stock market, and some people do really well, but 99 out of 100 lose everything. And that's why you see those profit charts where they go up and they're like, I turned 10K into $1 million, and then it's like
gone.
Lost everything like that.
Yeah. And, you know, just for anybody, I know that the mindset, the stuff that we're talking about right now isn't the sexiest part of investing, but if anybody that is in our community or joins our community, we have put out a course on the mental game of investing and strengthening your mental game and being able to think through trade management better and, you know, help you improve your returns just by managing better and having a stronger mental game. And that course is actually included in the community membership.
That's right.
So anybody that's interested in something like that, I highly suggest check it out.
Awesome, man. Well, let's take a look back at the chart. So we talked about some, like, extreme bull case scenarios, you know, longer term, like 100K plus, you know, what that could potentially look like.
By the way, just real quick on that. 100K Bitcoin. So today, I believe it's about a $400 billion market cap.
Let's see. As of today, it is
That's right, 350.
350,
I think
yeah,
I
yeah.
was using the full 21 million supply, but we
Yeah.
don't have all that supply yet. But even assuming the full supply, 350, call it 350, 400 billion market cap. At 100K, it'd be basically about a 2 trillion market cap.
Yep.
I know you can compare it to gold, you compare it to other asset classes, but I'm just looking at some of the market caps of stocks.
That's
like
Apple.
Yeah.
2 trillion. Microsoft 1.6 trillion. Amazon 1.5 trillion.
Yep.
Google 1.2 trillion. Facebook 800 billion. These are like multiples of where Bitcoin is today, and they are now. Granted, I will say all these companies are almost like utilities for much of the world.
Yeah.
Search engines or computing devices or software, right? But I don't see why Bitcoin really is that different. It can be a global utility, a global store of wealth. So I don't see any reason why it can't be $1 trillion+
I don't either.
asset.
We almost, like, if Bitcoin was a stock, it would have done several splits by now. Unless it was Berkshire, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like the price of Bitcoin would be much better if the market cap was growing, but the price stayed in like the low 100s.
Yeah.
Right? Because for a lot of people, it's like $20,000. How the hell do you buy something that's 20K, let alone 150K, right? We almost need to get the community talking about different units of account.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
let's
a
talk in terms of
Satoshi.
Satoshis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, dude, what are you talking about? A Satoshi is only blah, blah, X pennies right now, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would be much more
Plenty of stocks
helpful for
out
retail.
there that would be higher price per share if the stocks didn't split.
Remind me again, is a Satoshi 1/100th of a Bitcoin?
No, it's divisible to the 8th decimal point.
Oh,
I always
okay.
screw that up when I say
Okay,
it. Let's
okay.
see.
I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah.
I
It's
have
something
forgotten.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's basically
That's right. It's
infinite.
100 million
100
of
million.
Bitcoin. Okay, so
Yeah.
so like whatever decimal point. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
So basically though, let's just, like, if we divide this by 100, I think that makes more sense, right? If they did like 100-to-1 split, that would be awesome. But either way, okay, let's look at the chart. And using what I was the same kind of measurement tool that I used on Link, if you basically measure this range and then you stack a 1-to-1, I don't know where these came from, but if you do a 1-to-1 of basically the 3 to 20K range, the first stop on a 1-to-1 is like 35 to 40K, right? So at 35, what is that? Trav, do the math for me.
Wait, what
What's
math are
the
we
market
doing?
cap at 35K?
basically like 700 billion. It's like double-ish where we are
Yeah,
now, right?
double or triple. Even round up and call it $1 trillion, right? So like, if we have, say we have a bull market that does, we chop around for a little bit, and then we get a breakout, and then we have like a multi-month or a multi-year bull run to 35K. This stuff right here is going to be so much fun to trade. Like, if that plays out, oh my God, man, we're gonna make so much money just on the swing trades through here, let alone, the longer term stuff. But I think, a move like that through 2021 and maybe into 2022, oh dude, that would be so nice. And again, it's not unrealistic, right? To get to $1 trillion within a year or two. That is still on track and in line with stock to flow. And yeah, I don't know, we'll
Do
see.
you think anybody is thinking about the other side of the trade right now? Like the downside? Do you think anybody is actually thinking, okay, I know what I'm going to do if it goes higher,
Yep.
but what am I going to do if it goes lower?
Yep.
Like, what if it doesn't break out? I mean, yes, I think it's bullish.
Blasphemy.
I think it's bullish. I think a 100K price target is something that could happen over the years. But what if it doesn't? Like,
Yeah.
are people preparing for that? Is
Yep.
my question.
So that, I think it's always smart to look at the bear case, right? Because especially at a time right now where the in the money is at 100%. So everybody that bought Bitcoin is at break even or better.
Euphoria's up there.
Euphoria's up, market sentiment's up. So here's what can happen. Here's what is pretty much guaranteed to happen is some wild shakeouts. Like in the short term, I would not be surprised to wake up and see Bitcoin down 20 to 30% in one day. And what's that going to do? It's going to scare the shit out of everybody that hasn't lived through a full market cycle yet.
Yeah.
Right. For us in the community, we're going to wake up and be like, oh, here we go, buying opportunity. Right.
Yeah.
But most people, it will scare out. It'll shake them out. Anybody that puts stops on exchanges, which by the way, I don't use stops in crypto. you're going to get wiped out. Flash crashes will happen. People get angry at exchanges. This is the same thing we've seen year after year, right? That is almost guaranteed to happen. What is a bear case is, let's say we break out and then there's something that changes fundamentally, either with laws or regulations, something on-chain breaks with Bitcoin, a competitor comes in, right? We know all the risks that could happen, but those are black swan events that we just can't predict, right? Mm-hmm. We can't predict the timing. We can't predict the probabilities of them happening. But if something like that happens, the bear case is Bitcoin dies or Bitcoin gets hammered or we go back into a bear market, right? Like back in 2019, everybody in the community was getting really, really excited when we went from 3K to like 12K, but things got overheated and then we got slapped. And there were a lot of, one of the risks is during a recovery phase is you have bag holders. So like through here, there were so many bag holders that were selling into this. Yeah. That's why it took an extra year for us to get back up, right?
Yep.
So now that there are no bag holders, it really is kind of a, like all the lights are flashing green, but the risk is that even though things are flashing green, if the demand side dries up, that's when you get those massive washouts that lead to bear markets. And that's just something that we can't predict with 100% accuracy. We just don't know what that looks like. But again, all signs are flashing green right now. So
we just need more corporations to put Bitcoin on their balance sheets.
that's right. Well, now it's going to become
Apple, where
irresponsible.
Are you at?
Yeah. It's going to become irresponsible not to do that, right?
Investment firms allocating, you know, wealth managers allocating 1%, 2% of a portfolio to it.
We're starting to see, there was some group that announced they were starting to educate all their investment advisors on how to, because people are demanding this. Like, imagine if you're a RIA right now and you're sitting there and you've got 10 calls a day or 20 calls a day going, why the hell can't I get Bitcoin in my retirement account? Which you can, by the way. But like most people just don't know how, you know.
Through a self-directed IRA, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So the demand side is there and something has to break for that demand side to dry up in the short term. I don't see a high probability scenario where that happens. I don't know. I want to do that. I'm usually like really objective and balanced and I want to find like a strong bear case for it outside of competition. And I guess that's a good segue into like Ethereum and some competitors. So, you know, we actually started buying Ethereum, or I started personally buying Ethereum for the first time since last year. And this is the first time I've actually been bullish on Ethereum since 2017. So we did really well trading from, you know, basically $1.50. We traded the early days from $1 to 15. And then we traded some of these breakouts all the way up to over $1,000. And then all through here, I was super bearish because it was tied to so many busted ICO projects, which created a lot of bearish pressure. I did have one trade on Ethereum last year, so it was a breakout from, call it $200 and then scaled out, but it wasn't a big trade at all. And then this is the first time I've actually gotten heavy again in Ethereum was on this pullback. So I took a screenshot of one of the trade alerts just as an example to show you guys kind of how I think through things. So anytime I put a trade alert out or an opinion or show where I'm getting in, I like to explain why and how I'm thinking about risk, because it's one thing to say, oh, I'm buying X coin. It's another to say, I'm buying it at this area and here's why, and here's where I'd cut it off if it went against me, right? So I started building in size here on the 350 retest because this was the first time that we had broken out of this accumulation range. It was the first higher high that we had, and it was a retest. And I knew the risk to reward through here was about a 5-to-1. So it's not every day that we get that, right? So it's like, if I buy here at 350 and I cut it off at, 300 and my first target is up at 700, that is a really, really nice risk to reward profile that just doesn't come along every day. And so I went in pretty heavy.
Nice. Yeah, this has been a great trade so far. I've been personally very fascinated by Ethereum and have been doing more poking around on it the last probably month or two.
Yeah.
Listened to some podcasts and read some stuff from Vitalik and kind of dug into what's going on with ETH 2.0. Like they're quietly starting to roll out like the next generation of ETH, and I am really intrigued by the longer term possibilities of things like smart contracts and the things that can be done with Ethereum once it's able to scale to lots of transactions. And I think we might be pretty close. Like, I'm not talking about like next month, but like next maybe 1 to 3 years, Ethereum starts to become what it was promised to be potentially.
Yeah.
And holy crap, like that's another, I think, potential 10x long term, maybe over a decade time frame, if it plays out the way that I think it could.
Yeah. And Ethereum is super controversial in the crypto community because there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists that you know, we saw what happened with the ICO boom, and most of us were like, this is fucking bad. This is not good. Like all these scam projects, this is not good. And so it has that kind of scarlet letter attached to it. But if you are stepping out of whatever tribalism or political belief you have in the crypto space and you just look at what it is, it's hard for me not to have a position in it as a hedge. I mean, I think Bitcoin is digital gold, but I want to have an allocation into projects that have a potential large upside in the future. And I think Ethereum is one of them. So I'm going to trade it. I'm going to make money on the emotions and the moves. If it succeeds and goes up over time, I'll make money on my longer term plays. If not, I'll at this point maybe break even or lose a little bit. But yeah, I think just like in the crypto space where you have some people that are like anti-stock market because the Fed and all that shit, it's like, okay, if you're going to let your political beliefs and your opinions get in the way of you making money and building wealth, that's your prerogative.
Yep.
Personally, I want to be opportunistic and profit where I can.
Yeah, I think that's a great mindset. We do that in stocks as well. And it's like, yeah, maybe you have, 10 or 20 years ago, especially, maybe this is more of a thing, but remember the whole battle between like Apple versus Microsoft, open source versus closed source, right? Well, guess what? Like both made a shit ton of money and created wealth
and
for
are
everybody.
thriving.
Yeah.
Open source is thriving. Closed source is thriving. Apple's thriving. Microsoft is thriving. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
We do not live in a zero-sum world.
Right.
Like everybody, all tides can rise together in some sense.
Why is it like that in the space? I mean,
Why is it so tribal?
Yeah, why do people that are crypto maximalists or whatever you call them, why are they so or Bitcoin maximalists?
Yeah.
Why are they so against other asset classes?
It's many things, and I think this is a conversation that we need to have more.
Is it education? Is it maybe just a lack of education on like the history of the asset?
Well, so you have there's a couple of different camps, and some of the arguments are valid, and some of them I look at and I'm like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like some early Bitcoin maximalists are maximalists because they were first in Bitcoin and they believe that that is the true Bitcoin. And then you have like subgroups or Bitcoin Cash or BSV or whatever. It's just all this fighting. And then you have some people that are like, no, Ethereum is the best, and some are, shilling other altcoins. And at the end of the day, I think the competition is awesome. I love the fact that we have this kind of hive mind of so many smart people trying to create the best projects. But with that, you get a lot of scammers, you get a lot of bullshit, and you get a lot of projects that are going to fail, not just because they're scammers, but because it's the startup world. It's experimental, right? So when people tell me like, oh, Chris, I own 250 coins, I'm like, what? Why? Like 99% of those are going to go to zero, right? You know that. Well, why are you so bearish? I'm not bearish. I'm just a realist. I invest in angel stuff. I invest in tech startups. It's no different in crypto. Most of this stuff is going to fail. I just want to be tactical and like try to allocate, use Kelly formula or whatever we can to allocate capital in a wise way. But when it goes to the tribalism stuff, it's just weird. It's just strange to me because I put my investor hat on and I step outside of all of that.
I want to make money.
Yeah.
I want to make money. I want to reduce risk, and I want to get the highest return for the least amount of risk possible. But some people, it's like they don't care. They're like, I want to get the highest return for the highest amount of risk, and that's fine. Like that's some people's prerogative and risk tolerance.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just strange to me how people are so anti other assets.
Yeah.
I think too, it's part of this is there's a lot of technological confusion because Bitcoin has become a very clear like store of wealth type of asset, but maybe not unless the scaling stuff changes, but maybe not like a currency alternative, like a day-to-day buy your coffee with an alternative, right? At least as it stands today. Whereas, you know, Ethereum kind of emerged as maybe a backbone potentially for smart contracts or things like that, a more utility type of play. But people will still, a lot of people I think still anchor around, well, ETH versus Bitcoin as a currency alternative. Well, maybe, but like maybe you need to think about it from a standpoint of like maybe these become assets for different purposes. Right. That's kind of how I'm thinking of it. And I think maybe that's not the right mental model, but that's my mental model today as I see things. And I think like if you approach it that way and you can understand, well, what could this be and why, and what might this be good for? Again, like open source versus closed source, right?
Yeah.
One doesn't have to win 100% of the market. Things will evolve until they find their niche. And that's why I was actually a little bit of what I would say maybe like a skeptic of Ethereum in prior years, where I've started to kind of warm up to it just recently, because I'm like, okay, one of my big criticisms was that its inability to scale to a large volume. If it truly is going to be a backbone for smart contracts, it needs to be able to handle a shitload of transactions in a short time period. If they can solve that problem, well, shit, then that criticism of mine, that was the criticism saying, hey, they can't support enough transactions. If that goes away, well then shit, there's something here maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
so like,
yeah, it's similar to like looking at like Apple a few years ago. Everyone's saying they were losing their ability to innovate, right?
Yeah.
And some people still have that argument, but then like they improve, they put out new products, they start innovating, and then it's like, okay, maybe they can meet that need.
Yeah.
With assets that are being managed by really smart people, it almost always pays to be more on the optimistic side.
Yeah, bet on the jockey, and
Yeah.
and even if you can't see the clear path, maybe they can.
Yeah. There are clear frauds in like stocks, for instance, where like, yes, like they're going to implode eventually and like it's right to be bearish on them. But like there's a lot of situations where things might look bleak for a while, but like if you've got really smart people running it, like I've learned over time, look and see like, well, what could this be? Like, what is there a reason for this to turn around, and why, and what would that look like?
Yeah.
And that tends to like create really interesting opportunities for making money.
And sometimes it's impossible to turn things around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the case of Sears or like
Yeah.
JCPenney. Like, I don't think they can turn this one around, y'all.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes that's the case, no matter what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Whether it's a project, a coin project, or a company.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, in the crypto space, it's really good to be cynical in a way, or like just a skeptic and like question everything and have kind of a protective mentality. But I think some people just go down that rabbit hole too much to where they can't see the future possibility and the growth.
Yeah.
And anytime that somebody comes out and they say something like, that project's a scam, or like you should only buy this coin, or you shouldn't trade, you should only hodl, most of the time the person saying that has an ulterior motive. So like people that say don't trade, just hodl, okay, well, you launched a coin and you're telling your cult following not to trade because you want them to hold, right? That's usually what that is. Or if it's Bitcoin maximalist, well, where's your portfolio? It's 100% Bitcoin. Well, of course you're going to say don't invest in other shit, right?
Because you probably don't know how the other things work.
Yeah, I
maybe,
mean, a lot of the
potentially.
Bitcoin maximalists that I've known from the early days of Bitcoin, they haven't even really looked at Ethereum and given it an honest look.
Yeah.
It's strange to me, man.
Yeah.
So like, again, for anybody listening to this, we all approach this as objective, like outside people looking in.
Yeah.
Not like we're banging the drum of some tribe. We are disinterested third-party observers who just want to be tactical with our investments. And obviously, we don't want to blindly invest in scams or like promote bullshit, but we want to go where the future opportunity is. And if we let our own biases get in the way of that, it's only going to harm our pockets.
For sure.
In our community's pockets, right? Like we have people relying on us to do good research and to make tactical, wise decisions. And I think our track record speaks for that. So.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of which, I saw a snarky comment here in the chat. Someone said, and I want to address it because I actually think it is it's something that most people won't address, and I think we can address it. And someone I'm going back up here. He said, are we really to believe that you've had no losing trades in BTC or ETH? I'm trying to find the exact quote again, but that's basically what the question was.
Who said that?
We all,
no,
we
I mean,
all
like,
have
who
losing traits.
of us said we've never had a losing
Yeah,
trade?
we've never said that. We've talked about our losers before.
Yeah, of course.
And I think they were specifically asking you, Chris.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, in the last year or two that I've been a mentor on the stock side in the community,
Yeah.
I haven't. To yours and Rocky's credit, y'all have had an incredible win rate.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
Well, it's high because we trade very infrequently.
Yeah.
So this is something that I actually did the data on, I think a month or two ago. I actually only place a buy or a sell order on about 4% of days out of the year. So I think that equates to about 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, I'm actually like having an order execute. So I don't trade a whole lot. Like most of my positions are multi-month or multi-year trades, right?
Yeah.
And that has changed. Like I used to be a day trader. I learned all the hard lessons. I've taken a string of losses. I've taken massive drawdowns. And I'm like, I don't like that. I don't want to do that anymore. So how do I flip the odds in my favor? Well, you get in at the right times and you hold, right? And you get in tactically at very specific entry and exit points based on major trends. If you try to day trade, the higher your frequency of trading, the higher the possibility of error, human error, mental error, technical error, whatever, right? And the more chopped out you get just through randomness. So like the biggest quote unquote losses that I've had in crypto were with everybody else in 2018 because I took a lot of profit throughout 2017. But my cold storage and the cycle trade that I didn't close, it had a deep drawback, 80, 85%. But then I built in the early 2019 and got my cost basis low again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's
you
one
weren't
thing.
selling. You were.
Yeah, I wasn't selling the lows. I was buying the lows.
You sat through the drawdown. We've
Yeah.
all sat through drawdowns. You sat through the drawdown and then you added to you basically averaged down.
Yeah.
And now, since you held,
Yeah.
obviously Bitcoin's back up.
Yeah, there is one trade that comes to mind that I bought back in, what was this? This was like the fall of 2019. So we were buying down in like the 3 to 4K range, taking profit up here. I actually added, so this is an example of a loss. I added through here as we were testing 10K and got my cost basis up. And then I lost on this breakdown, but I was quick to close it, so my thing is when I do have a losing trade, I want to cut it off quickly. I don't let it turn into a bag hold over multiple months or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I was actually about to say before you brought this up, I remember at least maybe 1 or 2 trades in the last 2 years where you got chopped out.
And you cut it.
And you cut it
Yeah.
at a relatively modest loss.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed by that. But the fact of the matter is, the truth is, if you go look at our trade alerts, if you become a member and you go look at the trade alerts channel and you look at the timestamps, like you and Rocky have had a very, very high success rate over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee that same success rate going forward, but the truth of the matter is, like, you've been very, very good at helping everyone build wealth in the community for you, yourself, and everybody else, who's followed along.
It's been an incredible, 7-8 years of doing this, and it's so much fun, and I really enjoy what we do here on a weekly basis now. This is super
I mean,
fun.
I wouldn't be partnered with you as a business partner if I didn't believe in what you do. If I thought you were just one of these other scammers, we wouldn't be working together, right?
100%.
We try to do things right, and we're definitely not gonna have a 100% win rate. I mean, I talked about my loss in Rolls Royce a couple of weeks back. God, that one crushed me. I'm still up massively on the year, but I still think about that one like probably once a week still, because I'm I really am frustrated by that and thinking about how I can improve the process so I don't take a loss like that again.
Yeah, and every loss that we take is always a lesson to improve, and that just comes with time in the market.
Yeah.
Nobody has 100% track record, 100% win track record.
Yeah. And what I tell people coming into crypto and trading stocks or whatever, it's whatever you do, focus, your first goal is survival, because you're coming into an arena with sharks, with people that are more experienced than you, have more knowledge, have more time in the markets, have more tools, have more access to information. If you think you can come in and be undisciplined and just throw money against the wall and get rich, if you buy and hold Bitcoin for a long period of time, sure, the probabilities are in your favor that you're going to grow your wealth. But the problem that I've seen is most people come in with that intention and they do something different. Most people say, oh, Chris, yeah, I know buy low, sell high. I'm going to come in, I'm going to buy when things are really ugly. But when it actually comes time to put skin in the game at that moment, a lot of people chicken out or they let their mental game get the best of them and they don't do what they set out to do. It's easy to talk about this shit. It's hard to actually execute it consistently over time.
True.
Yep.
So true.
And that's why trade less, profit more is our motto.
Yeah.
Because truly, I mean, even I was a day trader. And when I switched from day trading to more fundamental, longer term holding, my portfolio went parabolic basically from doing that. Like this year particularly, it's like the change was so obvious and impactful, like looking at it like now.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I do that earlier? You know?
Well, you got to learn, right? A lot of people come in. Learn. Yeah, like I blew out when I was in high school and right after high school, I blew out a few accounts just trying to day trade because I thought it was like easy shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
But you have to learn. My thing is like, don't do anything that's going to take you out of the game permanently.
Yeah.
Learn to survive, then thrive.
Yeah.
For sure.
You guys want to take some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool, man.
We didn't even get to like our whole list of stuff.
Oh yeah, like all
we
the
have
news.
like a whole list of stuff.
How about this? We'll do some Q&A kind of peppered in here.
Q&A.
And then no, we can do some news. I know there's some important things we want to bring up.
We'd be here for another hour. So
Cormac was asking, he sent this in, and then we'll actually take more questions from the chat today if you guys want to help me kind of moderate that. But Cormac was asking, hey folks, long-time listener here from Ireland. Love Ireland.
Ooh, I do love Ireland.
Do you think 100K Bitcoin is inevitable? If so, and why? Actually, I think we already answered this kind of, but I don't think it's inevitable. Like nothing's guaranteed. But you know, we've talked about the different models that we're using, and I think it's realistic to expect that.
Yeah.
Now,
high probability, we would say.
Yeah.
Or reasonable
probability. Unless a black swan event happens that breaks that, I don't see any data that's given me a strong bear case. I just don't. And usually I'm pretty good at finding bear cases against my thesis. I want that. I want to know if this is not going to work, why.
Yeah.
And we know the categories that could fall into, but the demand side is so strong right now that could change tomorrow. My opinion could change. Right.
Yeah, we reevaluate things. Like if in 6 months the world is in a deflationary spiral, you know, things may look different for Bitcoin. You know.
Absolutely. And then he says, P.S. it'd be amazing if you guys did a giveaway subscription for the community. Yeah. Actually, one thing I thought about, Cormac, when you sent this in, for anybody that isn't in the community, if you want to join us, we created a promo code. You can get half off of your first membership. If you want to join us, it's just literally half off. You type that into the promo box. Just go to chrisdunn.com/community and then half off. And if you want to come in, hopefully that'll be helpful for anybody that's kind of on a budget.
Is that our Cyber Monday offer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute.
Wait,
today's Tuesday. Yeah, Cyber Tuesday.
Yeah, get half off the first month.
Yeah. You know, on the show, we really don't like to sell a whole lot. Like, we just talk about what we do, and we want to add as much value. But for anybody that's not in the community and you want to join us, I think now's a great time to do it. So.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. What kind of questions do we have?
In the chat.
Let's see here. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on grayscale investments. Personally, I think they're going to moon, but some are far inflated, such as LTCN. Yeah, so there's now a bunch of derivatives coming out. You know, you got grayscale, Galaxy, you got different ways to participate in crypto. I'm biased. I'm old school. I think the best way to get in is just buy Bitcoin, put it on a hardware wallet, keep it off of an exchange. Trav, I know you've done a lot of looking at this. What do you think?
The problem with some of the grayscale vehicles, especially the ones that own some of the smaller crypto assets or maybe a portfolio of alts and things like that, is they've started to actually trade up to massive premiums to their underlying assets.
Yeah.
And so I don't like to buy funds that are trading at a massive premium to their actual underlying holdings.
Yeah. Like, what's the point in doing that if you can just get the asset itself, right?
Now, some people are doing this because they want to have the exposure in, say, their retirement account, their IRA or their 401k, where they're restricted to buying crypto directly, at least right now. And so they want the exposure to crypto in those accounts, and so they're willing to pay the premium in the grayscale funds. I still think that maybe isn't the best way to go about it. What I would rather do is if you have the flexibility, is just use funds from outside those accounts to invest in crypto directly.
Yeah.
If you can, and then have your exposure to crypto just be outside of those traditional accounts, and you don't have to worry about the premium in the grayscale funds narrowing, because that could be a headwind for your returns. Let's say a grayscale fund owns $100 worth of some asset, but the fund itself is trading at a net asset value of 150 or 130 even. If you buy it at 130, then what if, the asset goes up to, 120, the fund could actually stay flat or even go down because the premium collapses.
Yeah.
So your return could actually be far less than the underlying asset if you're buying at a premium.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So that's the concern I have with some of the grayscale vehicles. So that's just something to think about. Now, when that premium narrows and you're buying in a 401k account or whatever type of account because you need the exposure through just the grayscale vehicle, yeah, sure, maybe.
And there's other options, right? What do you call it?
Self-directed IRA.
True,
you
very
can do
true.
a self-directed IRA, and then they allow you to it's basically like a checkbook IRA where you can pull the funds, you can open a Coinbase account or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that too
Awesome.
if you want the actual asset.
Sweet. Question from Poke Poke. Pock. If you have not taken profit between 4K and the all-time high, at the moment, what would be the ideal percentage to cash into a stable coin right now? Consider that it's my only income and that I'm 70% in crypto. So I got to preface this with, I can't give you personalized financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. All I can tell you is what I do. And the problem is crypto your only income? So here's the thing, like you've got to trade in a way where you don't have to make decisions based on paying bills, right? Like if you're like, hey man, I can't pay my rent this month, or I can't buy groceries because I own Bitcoin and I don't want to sell it. That's not risk capital. You want to think in advance. Like if I'm getting in at a specific area, why am I getting in here and where's my target, and plan that. If you're doing it retroactively and you're like, how do I manage this trade now that I need capital? That's where you start to run into problems, right? Like just mental and emotional problems get in the way. And that's why so many people end up doing things they didn't set out to do. So I don't know. I mean, if you bought it if somebody bought it 3 or 4K, and they haven't taken any profit by now, do Nikki's no regrets risk management strategy, which is look at the bear case and the bull case and say, how can I manage this trade or this investment in a way that would leave me with no regrets no matter what the outcome is, right? If Bitcoin goes to 100K, you don't want to sell all your Bitcoin. But if Bitcoin pulls back 80% from this price level, are you going to freak out? Okay, then what percentage would you want to take off in both of those scenarios, right?
Gotta
I think
play
that's
it
the
all
best
out.
way. Yeah.
Both directions.
Yep.
Envision it.
It's kind of like thinking like a poker player, right? Like how do you manage the pot based on probabilities in an uncertain future?
Yep.
That's really it.
Great analogy.
Stevie B, I wanted to address what you mentioned, how your parents won't invest. They think it's too risky and they have a lot of cash, and you're giving up on them. Maybe try suggesting just a small allocation. I mean, it doesn't have to, you can do a small 1% allocation or, and that could make a big difference, especially if they're flush with cash.
Yeah. We have enough data now on the risk adjusted returns of crypto, of Bitcoin and crypto in general. Just like it makes sense to have some allocation.
Yeah. They don't have to go all in. YOLO Bitcoin.
Yep.
I think one of the ways that you could tackle it as far as trying to convince them to allocate is explain it less as of like, this is a futuristic, crypto technology, blockchain, and more of a, hey, store of wealth. This is a scarce asset, traditional asset manager. Point them to the articles that are showing that more and more institutional asset managers are now allocating. Yep. And using those proof points and showing that it is becoming a more widely owned asset.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see. I see another kind of new category of a question. Chris, what's the probability that Bitcoin drops 40% back to 12K like it did when it reached the all-time high of 1,100 again for the first time? Yeah, look, I mean, I think there's really three things that happen from now for in the short term. One, in the next week, we go parabolic through 20K. We don't get that 3 to 4 month consolidation range, and it just surprises everybody and breaks out really quickly. Number two is we get what we got in 2017, which was several months of chop with 20 to 40% pullbacks several times to shake people out. I would guess that that's the highest probability scenario. But I also wouldn't be surprised if banks stepped in and just started buying large blocks and drove us right through 20K, because what that does is creates kind of like a buying waterfall where buying begets more buying begets more buying. It's basically a short squeeze, right? Yeah. Where you get shorts that pile in, you get breakout buyers that drive through 20K that those shorts have to cover. They have to use buy stop orders. And then anybody that wanted to potentially sell pulls their ask orders off the order books, which creates a thin upside. And then that's where those pop stop runs just go crazy. So I could see that happening too. I don't know. I'm positioned well for both. I'm not taking profit here, and I'm pretty damn heavy as far as size goes. But if we get a 30 to 40% pullback, I'm going to have to be tactical and try to buy some more. Yeah, I'm just going to have to.
I see some potential positive black swans out there too. No one's really talked about it lately, but what if the SEC actually allows a sanctioned ETF for Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Grayscale's been a forced
good point.
A forced buyer lately.
Yep.
But they're still relatively small. Imagine like a S&P or Wisdom Tree or I don't know, I'm using the wrong names, but Vanguard comes out with a Bitcoin ETF and it gets approved.
iShares. Yeah.
My goodness, can you imagine the forced buying?
Oh my goodness.
A scarce supply, what could happen?
Yep. So check this out. This is gold, right? So looking at gold, obviously gold's been up on a bull run for the past year or two. But here's what happened in, what was it? I think it was like 2004 or early 2000s when the gold ETFs got approved through here. That's actually what contributed to this really big run up.
Yeah.
So that, imagine if we did get an approval here in Bitcoin, I mean, that's what RIAs, I think, are really begging for.
Yeah, a lot of them are using ETFs and funds,
Yeah.
That's what they need. They don't want to necessarily deal with the custodian issues that come with crypto.
Yeah.
And if you can get them an easy way to access it for their clients, it's probably a no-brainer.
Hell yeah. I mean, it just makes sense. And that inefficiency, by the way, is what makes Bitcoin so profitable, or what has made it so profitable. The fact that it is hard, the fact that it is inconvenient, the fact that you have to give a shit about security and hardware wallets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That inefficiency, that work you have to put in, it's worth it. It's worth it. That's
but for
all
a lot
of
people, it's not.
Yeah. Well, and that's okay. People that are like, look, I really just don't want to think about it. I'm working a job. I'm just trying to survive.
They may actually want to own some, but they don't want to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
And that's why an ETF would be game changing for people like that.
True. Yeah. Because we live in this world where it's our job to find profitable investments.
Most people, most
people aren't in that world. Yeah. That's true. All right.
By the way,
just
again on this, I'm just thinking through the numbers here in my head, and
$1 million.
I was just thinking in terms of like what a sanctioned SEC sanctioned ETF run by one of the big like ETF companies, what their AUM could get to in just a couple of years.
Oh my God.
I think they could easily own 20 to 30% of the Bitcoin supply.
Just the ETF providers?
Yeah.
Like a Vanguard
or a BlackRock.
I mean, I'm just thinking through the numbers. It's kind of crazy.
So let's round up and say Bitcoin's at $500 billion right now. Yeah. Let's just use that as a baseline. How much so what would that mean? That would mean a couple $100 billion from ETF buyers?
I think so. Not initially.
Potentially over
time.
Yeah.
I mean, just a small allocation from retirement accounts could easily get you to 50 billion, 100 billion plus.
Yeah.
In a like really well sanctioned ETF that's run well, low cost.
Yep. So I would stack that in the extreme bull case scenario, right? Like, not that it's extreme and unlikely, but it's like that is a catalyst that would further propel that bull case.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. I can see an ETF a Bitcoin ETF having a higher expense ratio than the usual, which is very appealing to asset managers. You know, they
true.
could probably charge 75 basis points for, you know, a Bitcoin ETF. They probably could get away with it.
Probably charge more because of the custodial aspect to it.
I'm sure so I would guess that would be something that they would actually want to have.
Yeah.
GLD, by the way, has 70 billion of AUM right now.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay.
So again, that was kind of in line with the numbers I was thinking of, like a few years down the line. If you do get a sanctioned ETF, that's low cost, high volume. And by the way, GLD is not the only gold ETF out there, right?
Yeah.
If you add up all the gold ETFs, you're talking about 100 billion plus. So in a 5-year time frame, could a sanctioned Bitcoin ETF get to 50 billion easily? Yeah. I mean, today that's what is that? I guess that's almost 20%. That's like 15% of the supply.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wild thoughts.
Interesting to think about.
Yeah.
I know a couple of people were asking about Tezos, which I'm curious to get your take on.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where like the competition comes in, right?
Noah said,
What?
Noah said, ass tattooer, it doesn't have.
Is that
Hi,
Kagan?
Noah. How are
Hey,
you?
what's up, buddy? For anybody that missed my live Whiskey and Wisdom, I had Noah Kagan and Neville Medora, and I basically, this was my second tattoo agreement or whatever, public announcement, where I literally missed this one by $20.
Yeah.
And the last one was if Bitcoin broke $1,000 by a certain date, I would do it. I got like it was like 12 hours I missed that by. So I've come out by the skin of my
You
teeth
really have.
twice. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. One of these days I'm going to get it.
How about if Bitcoin goes to 500,000, you'll get
I'll get a face tattoo. No, I'm just kidding.
a butt tattoo.
Yeah. I'll get
With
Bitcoin
a bee,
on my butt.
A bee on your butt.
Yeah. Okay, that could be one. That'll be
Okay.
an easy one though.
All right.
By then I'll probably have 2 or 3 tattoos. More is asking.
Tezos, though. Tezos.
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Tezos.
Tezos.
Yeah. So okay, so look, in the crypto space, you've got a couple of different asset classes, right? You've got networks like Ethereum. You've got shit tokens that just represent something. You've got Tezos, which is one of several competitors in that space. We had a trade on it, or I still have part of my trade on this. Let me zoom in here.
Yeah, that was a great Tezos trade. I
This has been one of the
got
more-
involved in that one too.
Yeah, this has just been frustrating though, because the price action is just so choppy and range bound. But yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, like I bought Tezos back here I started scaling in like 55 cents, built in up to like 75 cents, I think. And then basically took some profit at 350, scaled out through all this choppy crap. I'm still holding, I think 10 or 20% of the position, but this is one of those projects where I'm like, I don't know how to quantify the probability of success, so I'm just going to trade the chart, right? Trade the chart. It's a potential winner in the future. I know Bitcoin maximalists hate anything that's not Bitcoin, but this is one that I took a pretty sizable allocation to and made some good money on. I'm still holding it, but it's choppy as hell. Will it succeed? I don't know. That's really the extent of my research on a lot of altcoins is like, I trade the chart. I understand the thesis behind the project. I stay away from complete scams, ones that have real development and some substance to, I'll trade.
Yeah.
But I'm not a blind believer. I'm not a tribalist. I'm not going to go on Twitter and tell everybody they should buy XYZ. Like, yeah.
I think we talked about this on maybe a really, really old We Talk Money or at some point a year or two ago. But what I think is interesting about Tezos is the staking and almost like how it becomes kind of an interest-bearing asset. And I know that DeFi now has a lot of those same aspects to it. So maybe that kind of takes the shine off Tezos a little bit. But I do think, having kind of an interest-bearing component to crypto assets is a really interesting feature of Tezos. We have in our community some people that are really involved in the Tezos project.
Yeah.
And we had one of the guys in our community is a developer who created a Tezos staking, what do you call it? I forget now.
Basically it was helping people delegate and stake. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there are some people in the community that know Tezos pretty deeply and are pretty, I think still pretty heavily interested and invested in it. But
yeah, that's the thing. That's what I love about crypto is you have a lot of smart people that are trying to innovate because everybody realizes there's a massive pie to be had. and you have some people that hate on the competition side of it. I personally love it. I think it's great as long as people are being forthcoming and truthful with what they're doing and how they're raising capital. And I think that's gotten better over time, like fair launches and, just the token economics of new projects have gotten better. It's not perfect, and you could still shine a light on a lot of things that need to get fixed in the space. But I personally love the scramble. I love the work that's going into all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's really interesting to hear about the Bitcoin interest-bearing accounts through BlockFi.
Yeah.
Right? I was just listening to the CEO on a podcast about that. There's still more work to be done for me to like really understand that and the inner workings and the risks and et cetera. But it's fascinating that that's something you can do right now. You can
there's a
put
lot,
your Bitcoin with them and get paid interest in Bitcoin. I think it's like 8% or something, which is crazy.
Yeah, there's definitely risks with that type of stuff. And like, I would tell anybody that just puts all their money into any single thing that's really risky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of innovation coming out. A lot of the DeFi stuff is really dangerous, though. Like a lot of stuff is still centralized. There's admin keys. I did an interview with Chris Bleck a couple weeks ago that's on my channel that we talk about, how to just survive DeFi, which is like, don't go in too heavy. Make sure you understand the key man risk behind a lot of this stuff that's claiming to be decentralized, but it's really not. Because everybody's hopping on the DeFi train, and it's kind of like the ICO thing over again. Like most of these projects will fail, and just know that going into it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are doing things like putting their money there and wanting to get the interest, and I guess a lot of that is so new that it's kind of hard to even say if you should or shouldn't be doing it, right?
Just do it with a small portion of your capital, right?
Exactly. If you're going to test it out, don't test it out with your whole life's savings.
Yep. All right, we got a couple of questions here. Maury's asking, are you all in on Bitcoin mostly, or do you hold alts as well? Yeah, I mean, I'm probably 75 or 80% Bitcoin, and then the rest, it's kind of Bitcoin, Ethereum on down. I don't do the shotgun approach where I just have hundreds of stuff. I mean, I've got less than a dozen in my portfolio. Let's see. Could the regulators or governments actually cause problems for hodlers by banning banks from dealing with exchanges? Yeah, Joel Scape, I think that is a great question, and that's probably one of the biggest risks right now is the on and off ramps to crypto. When the central bank digital currencies launch, one thing they could say is like, okay, banks, you can only deal with our bullshit currency, not a truly decentralized Bitcoin currency. So that is definitely a risk. But I've said this publicly before, and I'll say it again. If the U.S. government ever came out and outright banned Bitcoin, I would very seriously consider renouncing citizenship, not because I'm pissed off and I have some political belief, but if they did that, my question would be why, and that could be the downfall of something much larger. Is that extreme? I don't know, Trav, what do you think?
Would that mean something like Coinbase, like can't use it, can't get your money, your Bitcoins
it's like if they banned it, if they made it really difficult or impossible to have the on and off ramps, I'd be like, I just don't want to be here anymore. Like, why are you guys doing that? To me, that would be kind of like the start of the fall of Rome kind of thing. I don't know. Tell me why I'm wrong. Give me another case.
No. I actually think it's an interesting point because I think it's interesting to think about what are the conditions that would have to exist for them to take such extreme measures.
Yeah.
And if we were in those conditions, I think it's probably pretty likely we'd feel like shit was hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And not just because of what they're doing about crypto, but because the conditions that exist must be extremely weird for us to be in that position. So, that would probably be some type of situation where there'd be worries about debasement of the currency or collapse of of the faith in the existing financial system, So, I don't know.
Here's the deal. If Bitcoin does go to these levels, the IRS is going to be on that like white on rice. They know there's profits out there. They know there's revenue to generate for them. I don't know if it would be in the best interest of the government to ban it when they could be taxing it.
Right. I think that's true.
Especially
and on
huge gains that some people might see.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. But it's also against their best interest on so many other levels too. we don't have to go through all of them, but it just seems to me like the probability of the government like banning Bitcoin is just not. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless again, like it's like things are just breaking, and that's like they're, throw the last stone trying to fix something. But again, I don't see that.
Yeah, I would think that well before that moment, we would probably be trying to figure out what our plans are because of other issues happening at the moment.
Yeah, bigger issues.
But where I have been a critic is that the idea that somehow the government would just allow cryptocurrency to subsume its monetary authority, I think is maybe a little short-sighted.
Yeah.
Like they're not just going to let cryptocurrency take over the role of the US dollar or the euro. They're not just going to give up control of monetary policy to some alternative currency without a fight. So
Well, I think that's why we're getting the central bank digital currencies. They're trying to compete.
Yeah.
that is the solution, I think, the middle path that governments will at least try to take.
Yeah, and maybe they can coexist.
I actually do think they can coexist in the near to medium term.
Long-term Bitcoin wins.
Yeah, I don't know 50, 100 years from now what society looks like. All bets are off,
Yeah.
We won't be here. We won't have to worry about it.
The U.S. dollar as a fiat currency, meaning not backed by gold, is old. In the history of like fiat currencies, it's old.
Yeah.
But, most people are asleep at the wheel right now, just thinking like, oh, the dollar is the world reserve currency. Okie dokie. Let's see how long that lasts.
I do think the world will look vastly different. The financial system will look vastly different in 50 years.
I think it's way faster than that. I mean, what was it? What's the ECB president's name? The lady?
Wow, I'm totally blanking.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
she
can
came
envision
out,
her, but I can't think of her
You've got the
name.
IMF, the ECB.
Lagarde.
Yeah.
Lagarde. Christine.
Christine Lagarde, yeah.
We're hearing from all the central banks, from the IMF, like everybody's like, yep, something's going to change. We're in for a big reset, as they're calling it, right? And there's some people like Simon Dixon in the crypto space that are talking about this and what it looks like. Like the rate of change is starting to accelerate. So my guess, maybe this could be a prediction, by the next halving, something big is going to happen outside of the crypto space with the financial system. Central bank digital currencies, debt forgiveness, whatever the hell. Something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but...
I mean, I think the most obvious answer could be like basic income experiments.
Yeah.
Yep.
And MMT on steroids kind of deal, which we've talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep printing, drive price higher.
But here's the key difference, though. Where it heads next, I think, is where they should have gone a long time ago, which is instead of just printing money and having it increase asset prices and exacerbate the wealth gap, actually put it in the hands of people and debit their bank accounts. Or credit their bank accounts, rather, not debit. That would take money out. Credit their bank accounts so that, you have money that can be actually circulated throughout the economy with a high velocity.
Well, that's what we saw with the recent stimulus package. The money was actually getting in the hands of the right people.
It was actually super powerful.
Believe it or not.
Look how fast we recovered. Now,
Yeah.
granted, they're still...
No.
The amounts are kind of ridiculous
Yeah,
relative to what was needed.
right.
But just that little amount helped us recover so fast.
And
now, are you talking about the fiscal side or?
Yeah, I'm talking about the
Fiscal.
$1,300 per,
Yeah.
U.S.
not the Fed.
and other
Fiscal.
countries, which
Yeah,
did
I think a
more.
lot of people get tripped up on that. And
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of anger in the crypto space to the Fed for all the printing and stuff. But like what we're talking about is like real people on
Yeah.
the fiscal side.
Yeah, the fiscal side is what actually could spur the inflation concerns that people have. Or,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fiscal side is that's where the money is. That's what's getting to the people is, the unemployment benefits that they released, the $600 extra a week for however long they did that for, that money, it was in the data that it helped people.
Yeah.
Like people were making more money than they made before the crisis
Right.
on unemployment.
And to your point, you need that for inflation to actually happen, because if
Right.
everybody's suffering on a personal level and not spending money,
Right.
you can print to
print
oblivion,
all you
but it's
want.
not. Prices will not go up. Deflation is still a big risk.
And
Yeah.
granted, a lot of that money did go into savings accounts, so it maybe hasn't fully circulated into the economy yet.
Well, and it went into Tesla stock.
But
Some of it did.
Yeah.
some of it,
did,
some of it went into the market.
Some of it went into Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
yeah.
And those are the side effects I guess you have to stomach unless you can come up with some way to more fairly distribute. But I think that gets into a slippery slope.
I think eventually it will all circulate back into the economy when this shitstorm of a virus is over.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and
there
people
was.
feel like they can go out and spend money.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was an announcement today. There was a bipartisan bill put out by some Republican and Democratic senators, I believe. It was about a $900 billion proposed fiscal stimulus package, and it would reinstitute like unemployment, higher unemployment benefits, some small business loans and grants again, but not direct payments to consumers.
I kind of can see why they're not doing that.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this for months. They need to do very, very targeted stimulus from here.
But doesn't that get dangerous? Like, say they come out with a central bank digital currency. You have a wallet on your phone. It's like biometrically linked. It's their wallet. And they're like, oh my God, Nikki, you were such a good citizen this month. You followed the rules. You didn't, make anybody in the government angry. Here's 1,000 USD coin, right? Oh, Travis, you got a speeding ticket. You did a YouTube video criticizing the vice president. Sorry, buddy. We got to take those 1,000 digital currency coins
Pay the
back.
toll.
Pay the toll. That's what scares the shit out of me.
And I 100% agree that there's that great Black Mirror episode, slightly different concept, but related, which is, you all have a, similar to actually kind of what already exists in China. You have a social score.
Yeah.
And if your
I
social
remember
score
that.
goes down, you start to lose the ability to do certain things.
Yeah.
And so if it was applied financially, that is rather terrifying.
Yeah. No, oh man.
Just
But, I think we're a long way from there. And I do want to see the next time, if it's now or if it's 5 years from now, when there is an economic crisis and you've got especially the bottom 50% of the income distribution having problems meeting bills and paying rent, can we just please directly give them stimulus instead of toying around with trying to just buy treasury bonds or
Trickle down shit.
yeah, or maybe grants to businesses or bailing out large businesses. Let's just give people the money to pay their damn bills for a few months, and let's see what happens in the economy then, because I think we'll get a relatively good impact from that.
So something with that whole system definitely needs to change, because just printing money and giving it to big corporations, that's proven not to work in the scenario we just had. And I mean, we all know people in the service industry that have suffered dramatically. And with half of the U.S., 40 or 50% don't own stocks?
Yeah.
I would imagine all those people also don't own crypto or Bitcoin or gold or any assets, right? We have to fix that.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's what we're trying to do with the content and the community, is help more people build real wealth.
Yeah.
And get access to education and guidance that they probably couldn't afford with a high level CFP or something like that. So
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
for shizzle.
all right, next question. I know we've been going for almost 2 hours, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Tugo was asking, can you guys give me some real info where and how to set up trading account for crypto? I'm just thinking back to trading. I heard binaries are not allowed. Yeah, so look, the easiest thing to do, the easiest way to get started is there's a few ways to acquire crypto. One, you earn it, right? You do a job, you have a business, you do something, you get it for, basically you exchange effort for Bitcoin. Another way is to buy it on an exchange. So you go to Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Binance, BitMEX, whatever. Just get some Bitcoin. You exchange fiat currency for Bitcoin. The other way is you do peer-to-peer transactions through local Bitcoins or whatever site like that, or from a friend or family. Once you get it, the best way to store it is on a hardware wallet. That's it. And then if you want to learn how to trade and invest and, learn the best times to get in and take profit and stuff like that, that's what we do on a daily basis. So I think I've got, this is still up on the question screen. For anybody that's not already a part of our community, if you want to join us, we set up this promo code. So chrisdunn.com/ community. And if you plug in half off, you can get 50% off your first membership tuition. So again, anybody, I know a lot of you guys are already in the community, but for those of you that aren't, I think now is a good time to get in, especially with things starting to heat up and, you know, just opportunity all over the place. So.
I saw a couple of people asking in the chat earlier about lifetime memberships. If we do lifetime membership,
No
I don't think we've
lifetime.
ever done that, but we should think about.
I can't guarantee how long any of
yeah.
us will live.
Yeah.
So.
Imagine that. Like, yeah, what if we want to just retire in a ski resort in 10 years?
Oh,
you know?
we know where your head's
I
at.
don't know.
I mean, I will personally still be doing stock research just because I'm a degenerate who loves it.
Yeah.
So if,
I think we talked about this,
think
right?
we all will
if we
be.
added another 100 million to our bottom lines, each of us, what would change? Like, I would still want to be doing the same thing I'm doing today.
yeah, same.
Just, I would want
legitimately.
like 5 houses, maybe 10.
Why? Why have all that shit?
I just want to.
Yeah, that would actually stress me out to have that many houses.
Yeah.
But you can pay to have somebody manage it all
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, I just don't want to think about it. I want to
100
be like,
million.
all right, I'm going to use Airbnb, get in, get out, not have to think about it.
But it is hard because if you want to go at the right time of year and you want a great house, say like Slopeside, it's not going to be available.
Well, the
So-
top of the
there you
line ones
go.
are always available.
Are they?
Well, we've seen that with some of the places
Yeah,
we've gone.
yeah.
But
if you're-
they're not slope side.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
had ski in, ski out. We've had massive mansions, like what, a mile or less from the ski resort.
But
like,
they're not ski in, ski out. Usually, like those really, really sick ones are
They get
They're
like,
eaten
not
up.
skiing.
Yeah, they're
because
like-
it's like Bitcoin, very finite supply and high demand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could just buy one and just have it all the time.
Yeah.
That's my scheme for the. Chris knows.
Yeah. Chim was asking, are your trade alerts for both crypto and stocks, more swing trades or investments? Yes, it's crypto and stocks. Everything from swing trades to longer term investment. So I saw a couple people that aren't familiar with you guys. People asking, who are the guests? Why don't we do, for anybody that's new, intros?
Who we are, what we do.
Yeah.
You go. Oh, everyone knows you. You go first.
Yeah, so I'm Travis, aka the Stock Geek, and I've been a mentor with Skill Incubator for 2 years. Prior to that, I was a professional investor, worked at a hedge fund for about a decade. We built that up from about 100 million in assets to over $1 billion.
One of the best performing hedge funds from Barron's, right?
Yep.
Reported by Barron's.
One of the top 100 performing hedge funds in the world when I was there. And now I focus on, I was doing a lot of research in personal investing, and now I help people in our community, learn investing. They can see my trade alerts. I tend to be a little bit more of a longer term investor. My average holding period tends to traditionally be 12 to 24 months, but this year our time horizons have been shorter because the market has been really hot and giving us lots of opportunities to take good profits quickly. So a little bit shorter holding periods this year. We've had some stocks that have, like SBE, that tripled in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But typically I look for a little bit of those multi-year, multi-bagger type of opportunities where we're looking for 3 to 10x type of returns. And I'm fundamentally oriented, so I really do lots of deep research. You can go check out my YouTube channel too if you want to see kind of get a flavor for some of the research I do.
Which, by the way,
Totally.
one of your last videos was brilliant timing.
Nordstrom.
So Trav likes to do these deep dive videos to kind of show you his research process. I don't think anybody on YouTube is doing what you do because they don't have your skill set. But like what was it, JWN, Nordstrom?
Yeah, Nordstrom was a great winner for us. Got a little bit lucky on the timing, I will say. Part of that, though, is because I'd been stalking Nordstrom for the last couple of years because there were some interesting dynamics there at the company. But the risk-reward setup in September, October, I thought was just really, really phenomenal and interesting for a number of different reasons. But you can go check out the video on it and kind of get a flavor for that research, like I said. But yeah, we actually took a position in some call options that were up about 3 to 4x in about a month's time frame. So really nice win there for us on that one. Yeah, that's so yes, I focus on a little bit longer term type of multi-bagger type of opportunities traditionally, fundamentally oriented. I'm less of a, trader. I'm trying to kind of learn that side a little bit more so I can combine the fundamental with the technical. But Nikki is the resident guru on the stock side for technical and more swing trades, I would say.
I'm a chart nerd.
Yeah, who are you, Nikki?
Who am I? No, my name's Nikki, and I am first and foremost a trader and investor. I started as a day trader, switched my strategy once I met Travis and learned what he was doing. And now I've combined the technical analysis skills with the fundamental analysis, and I am more of a longer-term swing investor. So my hold times have definitely gotten a lot longer, but occasionally I will do the trade here and there if the opportunity arises. I'm also actually a certified financial planner, so I am trained in all aspects of personal finance, estate planning, tax planning, retirement planning, etc. So I am kind of the resident personal finance chick in the community. You can ask me questions. We have a tax chat. We have a where people can ask tax questions, and I can kind of help guide people there. And also I love the behavioral side of personal finance and investing, trading psychology. I have a course in the community that you would get access to. It's called the Mental Mastery. You collaborated with me on that, and we kind of did that together. And that's a really great course to help you be better at trade management. I love the mindset side of investing and trading.
Yep.
And I have a YouTube channel, She Talks Finance, where I do personal finance and investing content. And check me out.
Definitely. I just did. Oh, I don't know why that showed up that way in chat. chrisdunn.com/community. And then I put half off as the promo code for anybody that wanted that. And then the fourth person on our team that isn't here in person with us is Rocky, aka Crypto Hustle. For anybody that's in the crypto space, you know him. He's a big dude on Twitter. Another crypto OG, has done really, really well in crypto. And he's also really active with kind of the angel side of trading and investing, meaning like he gets in really early on projects and does the hard work up front, so we don't have to. Oh, yeah.
Yes. I can't wait for us all to get together again.
Yeah, man.
It's been too long.
Okay, so we've done events in Cayman Islands, Amsterdam, Austin. We had one planned for Vegas, and that got canceled thanks to COVID. But
as
soon as this is over, we're gonna do another big one.
2021,
We're
hopefully.
probably gonna do a few of them when we can.
Yep.
Yeah, we're excited about 2021 is going to be a great year, at least in terms of the things that we're going to try to bring to the community. Hopefully some events if we're able to. Classes like Nikki's got a class in development right now on passive investing strategies.
Yep.
I will do a couple classes on stock focused topics. Chris always does. You've had like a couple of recent
whiskey tastings.
Yeah, of course, whiskey tasting. Yeah, but you did some recent ones on like mental game with
Jared Tendler, The Mental Game of Poker. Yep. He's writing his book, The Mental Game of Trading.
Yep. And so we're starting to kind of get together what we want to do and plan for 2021. We also have our normal stuff, like you obviously get our access to our trade alerts and what we're doing real time. Constantly trying to find the multi-baggers and the investment opportunities that are interesting.
Yep.
We've had some private investment stuff we've been able to do occasionally. We've got
just had an exit. Boom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
So that's what we do. Any other questions? I know we weren't able to get to everybody, but I think we're going on 2 hours, so we can go ahead and start to wrap it up. But was there anything else we wanted to cover news-wise? I know we had a lot going on.
2 hours.
SRV, great point too. He says boot camps. Yeah, boot camps is another thing. We do some really in-depth classes. Like if you're kind of more early in your investing journey, like I have a 40-hour course on doing stock investing, basically like soup to nuts. Like how do you find stocks? How do you analyze them? What do you look at fundamentals wise? How do you break down financial statements? How do you do position sizing and portfolio management, etc.? And you have
so important
crypto boot camps where you talk about everything from trading setups to
how not to get wrecked.
Portfolio
how to
management.
survive then thrive. Yeah, man, that's the thing, is like start with build your foundation, right? Build the foundation. That way when you go into the markets, when you go into battle, you're prepared and you're not going to get slaughtered like most people.
Yeah.
We really try to focus on helping people develop the skill set so that, they can take that with them. It's important to teach.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like trading and investing is a skill that once you develop it, it will serve you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
As long as you stay in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks everybody for joining us today. You know, feel free to join us if you haven't. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me or any of my lovely guests on Twitter. Go check out their YouTube channels. I know Kevin was dropping the links in there. I see a lot of community members in there chatting. So yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys. What do you guys have coming up for next week that you're excited about?
I'm doing the passive investing class next week for community members.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, that or
Anything?
trades, anything big coming up. I know Bitcoin is, you know, that's basically my focus right now is just trying to play this breakout the best way. What do you guys see?
I'm putting full net worth in Tesla calls. No, I'm just
Yay.
kidding. No, I'm
More
kidding.
like YOLO Tesla put.
Wait, I thought Nikola was the new Tesla.
Oh God, we didn't even get into all that stuff.
Yeah, next
You know
week. We'll
what's
save
so
it for next week.
funny is weeks ago on an episode, I remember we were talking about Nikola, and I was like, you know, when I see things that look like those charts, you know, the chart where
Yep.
it gets really crazy. Usually those things don't end well, and sure enough, it didn't end well.
Yeah, parabolic crash, baby.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seen it a time or two.
I've got a personal backlog of lots of new stock ideas that I'm working on, or potential stock ideas that I'm working on, and so I'm trying to really just get through those, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks, so I'll have some more interesting stock ideas for our community, obviously, and then first and foremost, and then maybe we'll talk about a couple here on We Talk Money as well.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've been spending a lot of time on is the DeFi space. You know, like when there's a new wave in crypto, I'm not the first to rush into it. You know, that's why I didn't shotgun invest in a bunch of ICOs, because the time from idea to liquidity on an exchange is so short. I'm like, why do I need to risk all my capital? Sure, I'll get a better price sometimes. Like I didn't invest in the Ethereum ICO, but I got in at $1.50, you know? So like, with the DeFi stuff, there's so much risk right now, but it is super fun to dive into and to look. And I feel like a few of those projects will have survivability. I'm just not ready to really hammer the capital in there right now.
Totally.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been really excited about kind of the next evolution of that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
All
we'll
right,
see.
guys. Well, hey, listen, for anybody that's new to the show, go to wetalkmoney.com. You can submit a question for the show. I know today we were just doing a bunch of live stuff, but if you have a really important question you want to see answered, you can go to We Talk Money, submit it, and we'll get it. And then what else? Go subscribe. We put all these shows not only on my YouTube, but also a podcast. So you could subscribe to We Talk Money really anywhere that podcasts are pushed out.
yeah.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
If you
what-
guys
what
wouldn't
else?
mind
Yeah.
giving us a rating on
Oh, yeah. Yeah, leave us a
podcasts,
review. I guess we
that'd
never
be
really asked for those.
really, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Cool. And then, yeah, reach out if we can be of help or service to any of you guys. So awesome. All right.
That's it.
Well, thanks for joining me, Trav and Nikki.
Yeah.
And see you guys next week.
See ya.
Take care.